Hello guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can quickly set up a scene for Blender's EEVEE. And here I got some example images, and these are all done in Blender's EEVEE, and it's got pretty nice results. And it only took a few seconds to render. So in this video I'm going to show you how you can make a basic material and apply some effects such as depth of field, bloom, and the screen space reflection, which is a big deal to make a scene more realistic. Unfortunately, you can't really have a decent reflection with the glass material at the moment, but let's do it. By the way, if you already got a scene, you can just skip this part and jump right into the setup for EEVEE part, whatever that is. And yeah, let's make a few objects to apply some shaders, and I'm just gonna simply create a plane for the ground and a sphere to test the materials. So if I go to modifiers, we can actually apply a subdivision surface to get a more smooth surface, and you can just apply it. And to make it even smoother, you can go to object and select shade smooth. Now it's almost perfectly smooth. So after that, let's go to render view by pressing Z. And as you can see, at the moment the scene is pretty dark, so we need to set up a light, and I would use an environment map. So of course you can use any other lights as in the add menu, but to get a more interesting reflection, you can get a free HDRI on the internet, and you can go to World tab and add an environment texture. I can just open the file you got. So I got this HDRI map, which I got for free, and it will give us pretty decent reflections, and you don't really have to worry about the background. So next thing I'm gonna do is to apply a material to this object. So if I hit new, it automatically applies principled shader, which is pretty good. It's all set up. You just need to tweak colors and some values. So let's pick a color, and to show off the reflections, I will turn on metallic and reduce roughness. Probably about 0.6 of metalness would be pretty decent. And you can increase or decrease specularity. I would increase it to see the sun a bit better, so I can show off what bloom does in EEVEE. So next thing I'm gonna do is basically the same thing but to the ground plane. So create a new material, and basically the same thing. I'm gonna pick a color again, and let's reduce roughness again to show you what screen space reflection does. So now the scene is basically set up. So now all we have to do is tweak some EEVEE settings to improve the quality of the render and make it look more interesting. So first of all, if you go to the actual scene setup, render settings, make sure you selected EEVEE for the render engine, and the most important big deal is the screen space reflections. What this does is basically is some sort of halfway ray tracing. So you will get reflections on the ground other than the environment. Not only the ground, but on every object, basically. But it doesn't work with refractions. It does work, but it's not decent. But probably that will be fixed in the futures. Anyways, you can turn on refraction if you're gonna use some grass material. But I don't have any grass in the scene, so I'm just gonna keep it off to save some time rendering it. And there are some settings, but ignore them for now. And next thing I'm gonna enable is ambient occlusion, which will give you sense of depth a little more, I think. Yeah. And other than that, bloom will help improve the scene a little bit. And for this one, you can actually tweak the setting to increase or decrease the threshold. But yeah, let's keep it default for now. And yeah, that's basically it. So last thing I could do is to add a depth of field to the scene. So if you go to depth of field, there's nothing that much in the setting. You can just increase or decrease the bokeh size. But first of all, let's create a camera to actually add a depth of field. So if you create a camera and press 0 on the keypad, you're gonna look through the camera, so you can move around and frame the object. After you press N and go to the view panel and lock camera to view, so now you're free to move with the camera. So I'm just gonna frame it something like that. I just want to see the specularity there and some nice reflections. So this angle might work. And if I select the camera and on the right side of the panel, if you select the camera settings, you will see depth of field. And you can simply click on this checkbox to enable it. And now you can set the focus distance manually, or you can select an object to focus on. It will automatically measure the distance between the object and the camera. You can simply select the sphere, but it is not always accurate. So what I would do is I'm going to create an empty object, for example, this plane axis, and you can sort of move around and put it wherever you want to focus on. I just want to put it on the edge of the surface, something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you can go back to the camera setting, and now you can select the empty object. So you will get much more accurate distance. And now the depth of field is basically working, but it's not too strong to be noticeable. So If you go down to aperture, you can adjust f-stop. You can reduce it for more dramatic depth of field like that. The lower the lower the numbers are, it will slow down your scene even more. So um, just be aware of that. And blaze will shape the um, determine the shape of the bouquet and rotation for the bouquet, and the ratio is there as well. So that's basically it for the depth of field. So the depth of field is set up now, and basically those are three major settings that I did. Actually, four major settings that I tweaked for a better image quality. So finally, you can set your resolution. Um, Probably just 1080p would work. And if you go to the render setting again, you will see sampling, and the viewport sampling is for this preview viewport, and the render sampling is for the final render. So you can increase or decrease the number for better or worse quality. I think it won't improve your image quality too much, even if you increase it to like 1,000. I would just keep it as default. And yeah, you're basically ready to render your image. So if you go to the top session and render image, or you can simply hit function 12. So if you do that, it will render out your image, and there's your final image.